Incredible! This is
The Grove Podcast.
Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 144 of The Grove Podcast. Thank you for listening and I hope you're all sort of doing very well. Well, that was easy, wasn't it? And look, I'm sure in our Wolves preview pod, we said that Wolves were a good side. They were in a false position in the league, that this would be a tough fixture, close game, and would be glad to get away with just a 1-0 win, didn't we? So, I mean, look, there's no way of checking or finding evidence to the contrary. So, yeah, we're sticking with that story for now. Now, I've seen many posts online saying we should never talk about this game again. And joining me today is someone who posted such sentiments. Ian, aka Ask Cannon Picks, how are you today? And what are we going to talk about instead then?
Yeah, I did say that and then realised I'd come on a pod and do exactly that. I'm good, thank you very much. I think we should talk about the role of the internet in modern day society, or, you know, we can talk about some novels, just anything apart from that game last night.
Yeah, unfortunately that's not my forte, and also we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the internet and modern day technology.
Yes.
So it's full circle. No, here we are anyway. Look, and also if you're watching on YouTube, Ian and I are embracing the spirit of the season, a bit like Wolves. Yes, you with your Gunners and a bruised banana Christmas jumper, and me with my Arsenal Christmas jumper. And as I said, we're embracing the spirit of the season. I said, just like Wolves did last night with their 2 own goals. And I do want to check, you know, and can you clarify? We did win last night, didn't we?
Yes, yeah? We did. Thankfully, we did.
Yeah, it's because if you look at a lot of the reaction online and around the ground yesterday and stuff, you know, you wouldn't know it. You think we maybe lost or we drew, but yeah, you're right. We did win, and we will talk about that. Yes, we will. I will force you to have some opinions and talk about it, Ian, because I've got plenty. And yeah, looking back at that Wolves game, we'll have your 3-word reviews, and we got quite a few from yesterday, all with very similar sentiments. And then we'll look ahead to another Saturday 8 p.m. kickoff. Yeah, something the fans love when you're travelling, as we take on Everton away in their bright, shiny new stadium. Before we get on with that, as always, if you can give us a follow, a subscribe, a nice little rating. You know, it's Christmas. Be generous with your 5-star ratings on the podcast apps. Leave us a comment. You know, get in touch. Let us know what you thought about the game, etc., on the usual podcast apps, but also on the various socials at the Grove AFC. That would be very nice to hear from you. Anyway, enough of that. As we did confirm, Arsenal 2, Wolves 1. Yeah. What was your highlight and low light from that game?
Well, I'm going to pick the very, very low hanging fruit of the winner as being my highlight, and the heart attack, because you wouldn't have seen this now. You've probably seen it since, but for about 10 seconds. So basically what happened was the ball swung in and we score, and everybody in the world, including me, thinks it's a Jesus header.
Yeah.
And Jesus runs off. You watch this again, Jesus runs off and all the players run towards him, and he's kind of saying to them, no. He was obviously saying, no, I didn't head it, like it was an own goal, but I don't know why my mind went there, but I thought he was saying, no, I was offside. That's just where my brain went to.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't even celebrate. I was like, why is he saying no? Like, I just thought he knew something, but he was actually just talking about the fact that he didn't score it. But yeah, that's my very low hanging fruit highlight. My low light, I leave the low hanging fruit in that regard to you. I'll go with the Ben White injury. Nice. I was gutted for him because he's come back and played really well, re-established himself, and by the way his hand went down to his hamstring, that's at least a few weeks, I think, that we won't have him. So
yeah, that is unfortunate. I think it's like a continuation of our 1 in, 1 out policy that we seem to have at Arsenal. Yeah, it's that typical, you know, no one's around him, sits on the floor looking forlorn, and it's like, oh great, you know, what's up now, Benny? And look, Arteta went on to say after the game, you know, obviously he hasn't played a lot of minutes because of previous knee issues that he had. Then the moment he had to start to get some momentum, he had to play a lot because we didn't have any other solution. we had to even risk Willow today, because probably it wasn't the best call to play 90 minutes because we were buying tickets for another injury, but we don't have anyone else. And yeah, it's bad news for sure. So it's just the way it seems to be going at Arsenal. It's not just the injuries, it's the cumulative injuries and knock-on effect of that is that then players potentially play more than they have to. They maybe get risked, and it's just very unfortunate, very, very annoying. I'll start with my highlight. I don't know, maybe the pre-match pizza that I had at the Emirates, which are actually surprisingly very good and tasty. I was quite impressed. My son put me onto those, and I was a bit skeptical, but actually they're pretty nice. But no, I guess, I mean, you went for the winner. I sort of went for the first goal, and it was sort of a bit odd. It was hard to celebrate with full gusto because you're sort of annoyed at the performance, but you're obviously still pleased that that you score, and it's sort of more relief. It's more about time. Don't really care how they go in. And especially the winner, I don't know, but maybe then I was thinking upon reflection this morning, out on my morning run, as I do, and I feel that's a bit of a dumb response, sort of feeling embarrassed to win, feeling embarrassed to score. Look, if others want to feel like that, fine. But yeah, I think last minute winners especially should be hugely joyous occasions. And look, we've experienced it last week, so far, far better than the alternative. And we all remember how we felt last week when Buendia scored, for Villa, So as much as everyone was angry at the performance, frustrated, disappointed, we should actually be happy and take as much joy from that winner as possible, irrespective of these circumstances or position.
Like if you look back at any championship winning team, and we hope this is what this Arsenal team is, every league winning team has a performance like this or a result like this where they just play awful but get the 3 points, just get the job done. So
yeah, I was going to mention this at the end, but as soon as you brought that up, I'll mention it. I'll mention it now. It's like, and again on the socials, like, that's not what champions do. Like, it's so embarrassing. And I guess it's a bit of baiting and stuff like that. And some of them are Arsenal fans, and some of them are opposition fans. And you sort of looked up, and last year, Liverpool beat Southampton 3-2. Okay, granted it was away, but it relied on a Mo Salah penalty, like in the late in the game, in the 85th minute or something like that. And it's sort of like, well, yeah, and he goes off running, taking his shirt off and celebrating. It's like, so that's Liverpool struggling to beat one of the worst team last year in the Premiership, which I think was also a controversial penalty. And so it shows even poor teams, they can give the top teams a hard game, and sometimes you just need things to go your way. So it is par for the course. You got to have, all teams that win leagues have a bit of luck. Is it luck? Is it because of our pressure? Because those own goals, it's not like the Wolves players just turned around and booted the ball into their own net. They were both under pressure, like a cracking cross both by Saka, a cracking corner that actually, had it not hit Johnson, Timber was there to nod it in, and another great cross. So. Yeah, I admit there's a bit of luck, but a goal's a goal, and a win's a win. And yeah, look, we'll get into that. But we shouldn't feel embarrassed, and we should enjoy it, even though there are sort of some underlying problems potentially with how we performed. So that was my highlight. Somehow, my low light. The whole game, I'd suggest, other than, of course, what I've just contradicted myself, what I said. But maybe if I pick one moment, it was after we scored, and it was the way we allowed Wolves to equalise, and not just equalise it itself. It was just, we got tight, we got worried, we just got deeper and deeper, and limited press. We didn't go and engage, and not that you could see the goal coming as such, because it wasn't like they were putting a load of threat, but also you weren't surprised either when they did equalise, because the possibility of something dumb happening and just the way that game was going, I didn't feel like at 1-0, oh right, really, that's it, we've got this game sewn up. It just football's stupid like that. And they're just the way we just didn't capitalise on going 1-0 up. Again, this was Wolves' worst team in the league. There for the taking, their heads would have dropped. And even Arteta said afterwards, he said, we had a period of 2 or 3 minutes in deep, totally passive, with horrible defensive habits. That is nowhere near the level that is required against a team that hasn't had a single shot. The first time that they had an opportunity to do it, they scored, sod's law. And this is the Premier League. Unfortunately, we are relieved because we managed to score a goal at the end and go and win it. But we need to improve in that sense for sure. So even he sort of acknowledged that, saw that, and we could all see it happening. You say, oh, "Come on," and you just see the tension just there mounting. So, yeah, that was a bit of a low light. It's just how we manage that situation, and I think there's a lot to learn from that. So, but as I said, we did win. Anyway, so if we take it back to the beginning, the lineup. So, and there were a couple of surprises there. There was no MLS. Hincapié, which we ultimately found out going to left back. Saliba was back, but as Arteta said, it was a bit of a rush back. And then Timber at centre back, so another new centre back partnership to add to the list, and then no Odegaard and Eze playing the right 8-10. So, I mean, how did you feel about that lineup? Did you have sort of concerns about no MLS playing? And what did you think? Still confident?
Yeah, but I was still confident, but I was very surprised that MLS didn't start. And I thought, God, where does that leave him if we have all these injuries? And at first, when I saw the lineup, I saw the names, I thought Timber was going to play left back. And I think
a lot of people thought that. Yeah,
and I quickly realised no, it'd be Hincapié. And now Hincapié's had a great start. So to be fair, it's not as bad on MLS if you know what I mean by him getting in ahead of him, but still it's not great for him. So, and I was fully convinced that Martin Odegaard would start. I actually placed a little bet, and in like a little accumulator bet. Within it, I had Martin Odegaard to get an assist, and then he doesn't play. He doesn't start him. So I was very surprised by that.
I transferred him into my FPL team as well, thinking he'd start, and I thought it'd be laying on goals galore for Gyökeres. So I put Odegaard in and captain Gyökeres.
I was the same. Within that same bet, I had a Gyökeres goal and a Martinelli or an Odegaard assist, but neither happened.
Wow. We know fuck all.
we really do know nothing. But so they were my surprises. I was going to say maybe Trossard to start for Martinelli, but he's only back from his injury, and we had to take him off last week against Villa because he wasn't great. He wasn't fully fit. I mean, so it was important to give him a bit of a rest. But other than that, I was happy enough.
Yeah, I mean, so once we realised Hincapié at left back, then it made a bit more sense because he's doing well, and it'd be nice to see what he's like at left back. He's meant to be pretty good. He's meant to be a sort of a bit of a bombing left back. So I think fine. Had it been Timber there, then I would have been worried because you think, really, what's that saying about MLS against Wolves and stuff like that? So it wasn't that. So again, it's fine. And look, and ultimately, White came off after 31 minutes. MLS came on, and actually we looked quite good with him on. I think we actually improved when he came on. So
what did you make of us needing a goal? And he didn't bring Madueke on, considering his performance midweek. Now, I know it was probably a personnel situation. He wasn't going to take off Saka, of course, and thank God he didn't, because he set up the winner. But at the time when it was 0-0, I thought Madueke was a shoe-in to come on.
Well, I'm actually surprised he didn't start it, because I against low blocks, Martinelli just doesn't do it for me. He likes the space in behind. I haven't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen him do well against low blocks, and we just knew what Wolves were going to do. So I'm surprised actually he didn't start off the left, or even Eze off the left. Given who he played, sort of thing. So and he doesn't bring on actually, Saka has come on against Bayern Munich. I think Saka came off and he brought on Madueke. So he's not been sort of adverse to doing that, but given that Saka was the only person really with any end product yesterday and any sense of an attacking threat, you're right. So no, I'm surprised, because also he talks often about momentum, and look, he scored midweek, so you bring that in there, and I think Madueke with his direct running, the way he is a bit trickery, just a bit more chaotic than Martinelli, who's maybe a bit predictable. Okay, Martinelli did have that one chance and almost scored, but yeah, I was surprised. Not only did Madueke I was surprised that Nelly started and Madueke didn't start. You're right. He could have. Yeah, the fact that he didn't bring him on at all was, but strange. But then where he brought on Trossard instead. So then, the only way he would have brought Madueke on was, and Trossard I think did all right since when he came on. So I think it was, my issue was more about him not starting than anything else. So so there we go. And I would have liked Odegaard and Eze. I thought give Azubi a rest. He's played loads of minutes recently. Put Rice at the base and have Odegaard and Eze there. He wanted to do it against West Ham. Odegaard then got injured and didn't work out. So I thought, well, this is a perfect time to do that. I said, and maybe sort of build that relationship between Odegaard and Gyökeres. And again, that didn't happen. And even when they were playing together second half, not a great deal came of it. But yeah, so I was a bit. It's Wolves, so we should be able to put in any 11 and beat them. But yeah, I just felt a bit about that lineup, that lineup. But it is what it is, and Arteta's paid the big bucks to make those decisions. So so there we go. So in terms of the game itself, unsurprisingly, well, a lot of the stats go in our favour. And before we get on to sort of the main stats, like I'm looking at the sort of momentum map where it just sort of shows there's a line, and then above and below shows the amount of possession and effort a particular team has, and it's just nuts that it's literally just all Arsenal apart from that last 15 minutes. There's a couple of pockets of Wolves in the first half, but it's just all Arsenal momentum, and I guess that's what we expected. And overall we had 70% possession to 31, but even up to the 86th minute I think we had 82% possession, but that's possession. If you're doing nothing with it, it doesn't matter, because our XG was 1.13 to their 0.38. Now I don't know if that 0.38 includes their own goals, but I don't think so. But we had 16 shots to their 3. We had only 2 on target, and they had 2 on target, and they were quite nervy moments, because I think those 2 on target were one was obviously the goal. I don't know if shots on target includes the goal, but they had a couple of chances before we took the lead, to score.
Yeah, they had that one where what's his name?
But there was Hwang when he broke away, and
that's when I very nearly said that's when Barry White did his hamstring. That's when Ben White did his hamstring.
I think how Barry White does his hamstring, just getting out of bed in the morning. If he's still alive, I don't know. So we had 3 big chances to their 1. We missed all our big chances, and they missed their 1. But this is also a telling stat. We had 500 accurate passes to their 180. That's a sort of nuts sort of stats, and they're just it was total sort of passive domination, shall we say. We weren't really threatening much, but so what was your overall thoughts on the game? What were your overall thoughts on the performance? How it panned out? How do you feel about that in general?
I'll be honest, I was a little bit worried about the performance and some performances of late. Like we were we'd very low intensity. Like we're known as a really good pressing team, and having high intensity and kind of really putting opposition under pressure. But we were, and Arteta kind of nailed it. He said, especially towards the end, we were so passive. Like we were, to be honest with you, and we do our little predictions. And I was kind of swayed. Genuinely, this is gonna sound like after the fact itis, but I very nearly put in a prediction of 2-0 last night, because I had a feeling it was going to be a tougher game than everybody thought. But you guys were all putting in not mad scores, but
you went 12-0.
Yeah, I 12-0 divided by 3. So I went with a 4-0. But I leading up to the game, I just had a little bit of a feeling in the pit of my stomach that this wasn't going to be, because it wasn't going to be as straightforward as we thought. But even still, like we need to be so much better when we're playing against these teams. And it's not just this performance, but like how we played. Now, to be fair, away at Stamford Bridge is a tough game, but they were down to 10 men for quite a while, and I don't think we weren't great away to Villa. Again, another tough place to go. They're flying high, but we weren't at it. And so it's not so much just last night's game, but just an accumulation of some performances of late. And it's so unlike us. Now, of course, you have to use the caveats that we've so many players out and so many different defensive partners, as you've highlighted, because that's a huge part of it. Like when we have our starting back four, we're kind of nearly unbeatable. When we had all our offensive injuries, I remember, I regret the day I texted your friend and mine and friend of the show, Mitch. We were saying, God, we're worried about these injuries in attack, and I said, look. This was probably about a month and a half ago. I said, at least our defence is fine. I said, we've no injuries there. And I said,
it's all your fault.
Basically. And I actually texted Mitch recently saying, I actually replied to my message and I said, I highly regret ever sending. Because literally, I think the game after that, we started to get our defensive injuries. So, look, there are a few caveats, but a lot of personnel are still the same elsewhere on the pitch, and it's just a little bit of a worry that, as I said, our intensity has dropped off in these last few games.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It all does stem from the defence from the back, and we are maybe a defence first team, and our solidity is built from defence. And they always say that you win championships with your defence, and it's been notable that. Without Gabriel there at the back, and it's not him per se, but it's the whole group. We're just not as solid at the back. We are giving up goals, and we're not able to then sort of leverage him also when we need a goal, like a game like yesterday. When you're struggling, then you need that set piece to break open a game earlier on. That it is part of that. I mean, I know. Look, it was very clear that Wolves came with a plan. The lowest, the low blocks, 5-4-1, 5-3-2, sometimes 6 o'clock the back, and basically everyone behind the ball. They wanted to slow the game down, kill any momentum. They were taking ages with restarts. They were going down, stopping play with, injuries in inverted commas. It was just so stop-start. And then they were trying to catch us on the break, which, as I said, they almost did, and on a couple of occasions. And then also they got humiliated on Monday Night Football against Man United. And I think when that happens, you sort of have an added incentive. Well, we're not going to let that happen again. And it seemed really weird, actually, with 70 minutes gone or whatever, after we scored the winner, their goalkeeper still wasn't rushing to take the goal kicks. Okay, he wasn't dicking about like he was before, but he was walking. He wasn't like, I need to get on with it. So maybe even their minds were like, right, we don't want to get done big again. And look, they did a good job of it. They were disciplined. They did a job of it, partly because we made their life easier. But with the team that we had, irrespective of what's gone in the past, we're at home. We knew this was coming. We knew that we would have all the position. We knew who they are, and we should have had too much for them. This is an opportunity to get some confidence, get some goals before we have a week off against Everton, and we just didn't turn up. And it's hard to explain why. And I've never felt a more expectant crowd. I mean, did you speak to anyone that didn't do anything other than 3, 4, 5-0?
Yeah, the lowest prediction I saw from anybody was 3-0, So that's where our confidence levels were, and look, maybe we should. The thing is, there's just, even though Wolves obviously are on course for being the worst Premier League team ever, I think you've made a good point, actually, that after the mistakes that they made against Man United, and that's embarrassing when that kind of stuff happens, because it's
Man United.
Yeah, because it was Man United first and foremost, and the world saw that game. It was live on TV. So there is an element of, guys, we have to be so much better from a Wolves perspective. That's what they'd been saying. And also the commentator made an interesting point last night. He said, and this might sound silly at first, but he said that when they play at home at Molineux, that they're the crowd is so much on their backs that it's probably easier for them to play away at the moment, because they have a little section of fans. They're obviously the diehard fans there.
Yeah, the hardcore, a bit more that, support you to the die sort of stuff.
Yeah, they're support, like really real supporters, whereas at Molineux they're getting booed every week. So in one sense, counterintuitively, the pressure was off them a little bit playing away. They'd nothing to lose. So these games can catch you sometimes. Like, it's happened so many times over the years, and thankfully it didn't catch us. It got us. Yeah. We got the 3 points, and we move on.
Yeah, no, and that is an interesting point. Again, away from home. At home, you have a bit more of an incentive to come out and you play out against us. 9 times out of 10 we'll exploit that space and we'll kill you. So you're right. I think it's easier to go away from home, set yourself up to be solid defensively, to be difficult. And look, that is our kryptonite. No matter how many players we got, how many good players we got, and if they're not on form, if we're not firing, then it was like shaping up to be like Everton last year. Just like just nothing there. But I am a bit torn about how to feel about this, because it is quite positive. This is a really bizarre statement, but it's quite possibly the worst win I've ever witnessed. But it's a win. We scored a last minute winner, and we should all be happy. And I'm happier today upon reflection compared to where I was last night. A win's a win. 3 points ultimately is the most important thing. We're top of the league, and now the pressure's on the other teams today to stay in touch. Yet the underlying nature of the win, and as you said, the recent performances since the Tottenham game, when we battered them 4-1, just haven't quite been there. And excluding Europe, because I think that's a different kettle of fish, but in the league, it's just something's not quite right. Something's not firing. And look, again, so is this just a blip? Is it just because of injuries? Is there something fundamental that's going wrong, or is it an easier fix? It's hard to know. But yesterday, I think you said, we were slow, ponderous, inaccurate. Just nothing was clicking. We lacked creativity, any spark. And we ended up doing some desperate defending as well. Even Rice's deliveries were poor on occasion. And I think we missed Calafiori as well as that sort of agent of chaos. And again, you need something like that. You need something unpredictable. That's why I say Madueke a bit unpredictable, Calafiori unpredictable.
Calafiori can break open games. Like, how many times does he appear like in just very strange positions and sometimes bangs in a goal? Like, you do. I was thinking about Calafiori afterwards, saying that God, he would have been perfect for that game yesterday.
I mean, are you concerned long term, or do you think it's just the end of a bit of a patch? We've had some hard games. We're still trying to mix and match in defence. We've got a week now off until we play Everton. Time for Arteta to reflect, change a few things up. I think he even alluded to that in post-match presser. Yeah, are you concerned for the long-term sort of prosperity of the team, or do you think, nah, we're fine?
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned. Like, 5%, 10%, where, like, because it's a very busy time of the year as well. Like, if you're not on it during a period like this, it's not as though in a month you're playing, 4 games. You have the potential, if you're not on it in periods like this of the season, to drop a lot of points, because there's just so many games coming around. So I am a little bit concerned that we've been off it. But at the same time, I think we've done, in some regards, we've done remarkably well considering the injuries that we've had. It's like, we cannot sleep on that. If we can get players back, if we can get that base back to being solid.
Basically, we need Gabriel back.
To be fair, like, I know we shouldn't, go on about one player so much, like in terms of their importance. But you're right. Like, he's a huge part of who we are, of our identity, our tenacity, and our.
Just the passion he has on the pitch. I mean, and these intangible things. I mean, he's a bloody good player as well. But just that something extra, that's something there we seem to be lacking that. Hincapié is trying to do his best, but and
Hincapié's done really well, but it's just it's just what Gabriel brings to us. It takes us to the next level by far. And if we get if you get him back recently, did I read right that I think there was a video as well that he was, I don't know if he was playing his five-side, but apparently there was
God, yeah, he was just. I think I heard about it. Oh no, I heard about it again. He's watching mates playing five-a-side, and then someone did a bad tackle, and he sort of got a bit aggro about it. But it's sort of like, well, whatever. Yeah. So it's non-news. It's just people argue about a stupid tackle in a pointless game, sort of thing. So,
when I first read it, I honestly thought that he was playing in the game. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Can you imagine?
Him out injured for Arsenal and playing 5 and 6-a-side, and somebody breaks his ankle. But yeah, like if we could just get that back, I'll be much more comfortable. When I say that, I mean that solid back four. But it just seems as though, as you said, it's one in, one out policy at the moment, and it's just so frustrating when you see all the other teams have no issues whatsoever, and you're just like, will you just give us even 4 months of a season, 5 months where we have our first team available?
What is our first team?
Well, our first,
have we played?
Our first 15 players, then our first 15, 16 players available, you know?
But it is a question because Arteta, I don't think Arteta's played the team he'd ideally want to play when he envisaged the beginning of the season. Now, maybe, you go into the season and maybe a couple of but you think, come September, this is like, the primary 11, and then we're going to switch in and out a couple of players, but you keep the momentum, but the base will stay the same. But even then, you manage that out, and I don't think he's ever had that. And
no, because literally the very first game we lose Kai Havertz. And we haven't seen him since. And then we lost Saka, we lost Odegaard twice. It's actually crazy, and that's why, in many ways, I'm so proud of this team and Arteta and what he's done, despite the adversity he's faced. I saw a chart of all the most injuries this season, and we were second in it. To be fair, Aston Villa were first, and they're flying high. They had something like 26 injuries this season. We had 20. Wow. We had 25. That was before Barry White did his hamstring. Yeah. So it's so frustrating. Just give us a little bit of a period of time where we can be fully fit in inverted commas. I know it's not possible, and all teams suffer injuries, but my God, do we get them in key areas a lot?
I hate to break it to you.
Do not give me any bad news right now.
Barry White died in 2003. And look it up, kids. Otherwise known as the Walrus of Love. There you go.
Walrus of Love.
God.
Poor Barry White.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, that's 23. How can we be making a reference to
Let's be fair, it was you who thought he was still alive.
A soul singer that passed away 23 years ago. I had to look it up while you mentioned it. Anyway, all right, that's good. It makes this much more fun. Anyway, beats talking about Wolves. Anyway, so look, in terms of the first half, look, 73% possession to 27. I mean, they had, we had 19 touches in the opposition box there, 5, and the fact that they got 5 was more than they should have done in the first place. But and actually, the biggest thing we had a lot of possession. Timber had a header, but I said Wolves had that break. I think Juan got it from a break, and then you sort of had to run, 3/4 of the length of the pitch, and you could see all our players in the stadium. I think you wouldn't have seen it maybe so much on the TV, but on the stadium you just see a whole tranche of Arsenal players just chasing after him. It was very funny because some were then catching up with others, and then they were slowing down. It was like they were playing. It was like they were doing a 100-meter sprint, and they were having a race. They were just chasing Hwang, and I think actually, even though they didn't get to him or catch up with him, just the presence and just their sheer pressure would have influenced how Hwang how shot, because he wasn't. He go, oh my God, they're coming.
I'd say he took a shot probably about a second and a half, 2 seconds earlier than he would have wanted, and that was because Timber got to him just as he shot.
Yeah, but it was a bit worrying how easy the chance came. And then on 34, Nelly had that poor header at the back post. It felt like he got to the ball early and therefore got under it and just wasn't quite right. Saka put in a really good ball in for Gyökeres. Now there's talk saying, from where I was, I couldn't tell, but Gyökeres couldn't get to the end. This is like in the 37th minute. If you remember it, if you don't, you don't. But it was sort of like, should he was he caught on his heels? Should he be getting on the end of that?
Yeah, I'm 50-50 on it. I saw some people post actually today, a little gif of it, and they were saying, because Arsenal fans are saying, and I agree to a certain extent, that he hasn't been getting the service really from our players. I don't think we're used to having somebody like him yet, and we'll talk a bit more on Gyökeres later, I'm sure. But in that moment, if he had anticipated it a bit more, he might not, because the defender was there as well. There's no guarantee he would have got it, but we'll never know because he didn't fully anticipate it. And that's, that's his job, is to kind of be on the end of those. So I was a little bit disappointed that he didn't at least make contact with it,
Yeah, he only had 5 touches in that first half, which I think was the least out of everyone, I think even including Wolves players. I mean, what did you make of his performance overall? How are you feeling about Gyökeres at the moment?
It's a funny one, and like in our group, in the podcast group, Jamie saying that Gyökeres isn't it, and I do get that, I really do. I kind of have one foot in that camp, but the rest of me still thinks, like I just said, that he's not. I just don't think we've learned how to play with him just yet, and we're not playing to his strengths. He's very, very low touches, as you've just said. But in the moments, what's disappointed me about him is that in the moments where he could have done something, like he didn't. He gives the ball away a bit too easy. Now the other side of it as well is, again, we're judging him on the last few games. He still is just back from injury, and it will take him a while to get fully up to speed. Now, I know some people probably listening to this, including Jamie, maybe saying but they're training midweek, and but match game sharpness is different to training sharpness, and so I am worried. I'd like to see how he is in another few games if he's still performing like this, and we're starting to give him a bit of service. I'll be very worried. But at the moment, he hasn't set the place on fire. But then again, there's been some games where he's been very, very good. Just not lately. Like he has put in some good performances where he can show what he can do. It's just lately he hasn't. Since he's come back.
Like Newcastle and Burnley of note. Maybe he's one of these guys. Takes a couple of games just to get going. I think Sol Campbell was sort of very renowned for that. Just some players just take a while. A bit of a diesel engine type stuff. I mean, the one moment he did have was, I think, in the 75th minute when he sort of forced a smart save. When he did what we expected from him. He held it up, swiveled, shot across goal. Maybe I don't. Was it a save or a shot across goal? And Saka was just too late to get to it. Just nearly couldn't quite get to it.
There was a moment as well. I don't know if you remember this. It's kind of an innocuous moment, but like such kind of out of the game was he that at one point in the second half, the ball was played up to him, and he kind of got to it. This would have been just in front of Arteta and the technical area. Yeah. And he got in front of his defender, and he held the ball off, and he held the ball, and then he knocked it off to an Arsenal player, and the crowd kind of let out a big, huge cheer, and it was a cheer of encouragement. It was a nice,
not sarcasm. Hey.
But the fact that got a big, huge cheer stood out to me, because that was just a normal piece of play. It was because the crowd had recognised he just wasn't in the game, and. So such low was the bar for his performance. It's
a shame. He seems to be just lacking in confidence. Just needs something to go his way. Yeah, and even Arteta said, Arteta on whether Gyökeres needs to do more, or if the team needs to do more for Gyökeres. He said it's a collaboration between the two. He was in a lot of really good positions, and the ball didn't get into the area quick enough, sharp enough, or just with the position that is required for a 9 to score the goal. But his work ethic and intentions were there, and we need to keep insisting. So, and look, okay, Jesus is coming back. Is still not ready to start games. Our options are limited. So I think we will stick with him, and we just hope he comes good. But so that was the first half. Second half, it can't be any worse. We all think, right, Arteta's going to get into the boys. We're going to pick it up. We're going to get that early goal, and we're just going to rock this, and we're going to get that 3-4-0. And not a lot changed. I mean, and I've just noticed the XG for Wolves in the second half was 0.09. Yeah, that's not great at all. And we sort of stepped up a bit. We had 10 shots, 2 on target. So we did sort of step it up, and it started off. I mean, but then our first major effort was 57 minutes when Martinelli did that great run, beating Doherty, and he just fired across goal. He just couldn't get his foot around it to get the bend on it. However, I also think all the Wolves defenders crashed into the 6-yard box, and Eze was sort of there, nearish the penalty spot. If he'd just cut it back, I think it would have been an easiest finish. But yeah, then we made some subs. Martinelli, Eze, Zubimendi off, Trossard, Odegaard, Marino on. I've heard, I don't know if they showed it on TV, but I heard Zubimendi was not best pleased, shall we say?
Yeah,
being substituted.
Well, the camera went as he was going off. The camera went to him, and he kind of jogged off the far side of the pitch because that's where he was near.
Yeah,
and he just put his hands on his face, and he was rubbing his eyes and face. Now the camera went off him after that, so I don't know. That's all I saw. But I was a little bit surprised that people were saying that he was really annoyed. I just thought he looked just disappointed. But
okay.
I don't know if he threw a little strop after the camera went off him or something like that. But yeah, sure. Look, you want your players to be disappointed, like run off.
Yeah, I mean he's been pulled off a couple of times recently.
Okay,
substituted.
This is a kid-friendly show.
It's not the Red and Raw podcast. In joke. Where are we? Yeah. So yeah, maybe. But and then 66 minutes, Rice in Real Madrid range had a great corner. Was it going in? I couldn't tell because I'm side on, and even the replays couldn't tell. But you might have had a better view from the TV. Was it going in?
No. The keeper got like the very, very like tips of his glove onto it, but if he had not touched it, it was going over anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We'll feel better for that. And then Rice again, 2 minutes later, had a really good chance. On the edge of the box, checked inside, and apparently it was like a really good save by Johnson. So look, we were knocking on the door, but it was still fits and starts. It was still stop start. The momentum wasn't there until the 70th minute. A fantastic corner by Saka. Hits the far post, bounces back across goal and hits Johnson on the back and goes in, and that's always very funny when that happens. But one thing I think Gianluca, my son, said to me on the train back was Johnson was doing a lot of punching at corners, or was attempting punching, and he missed this one, which then meant the ball sailed over his head, and then because of the way he's landing, trying to punch the ball rather than claim it or whatever, then it bounced off his back. Now look, if it didn't hit him, Timber was there, but yeah, so maybe maybe Saka spotted something, and so okay, a bit like the Zubimendi cross midweek, it was just the trajectory was so good that it just takes it out of the reach of the keeper, and it goes in. So deserved, just about, but you take it, anything, and then everyone's thinking, right, that's it. Let's go.
Let's get a quick second one, and we can all relax. Yeah, that's
the game's over. The game's done, and Odegaard then hits the side netting. Grocker's had his chance. Then Jesus comes on, and then on the 91st minute, after we sat back and were passive, Tolu Arakodare. Ball goes in, just a header. He got in front of Hincapié. It's sort of a smartish header. Raya looked a bit. If he'd have been central, he might have been able to save it. I saw an angle which made him look like he was. I don't know where he was standing, but there seemed to be a lot of space to his right-hand side where the ball went. Now, I don't know how far into the corner ball went. If he was standing a couple of steps to his right, whether he saved it, don't know.
Yeah, the ball did go basically into the centre of the goal. I think he just badly misjudged the shot / cross, and maybe he thought that was just going to get through to him because he'd taken a step to the left because that was the trajectory of the ball at the time. Okay. And then the Wolves attacker, who you pronounced very, very well there, I'm not even going to try, he just nodded the ball basically into an empty net.
It looked really weird.
Yeah, it was a strange one considering how good, because usually a header like that comes in, the keeper will at least make a an effort to save it, but such was he out of position, I think, that now, but the header was so good that I reckon even if he was in position, I don't know if he would have gotten down to save it, but we'll never know.
Never know. And so very deflating, sort of not surprised, sort of half expecting it, and people started to leave, and yeah, it was sort of like a bit of disbelief in the stadium, sort of like a bit of shock, but also, yeah, not surprised. And then cometh the 94th minute, cometh the man, as they say, or men. Saka with a superb cross, and we all thought, as I said, Jesus had scored, but he missed it, and it was a beautiful header by Mosquera. But this was particularly funny and a lot of karma, and you posted about this.
Yeah, like I posted the picture of basically Mosquera fingering Gabriel Jesus's bum, and sorry, kid show, sorry, and him strangling, choking Kai Havertz on the ground, and I just thought it was hilarious. I was like, it always happens. It might take a season or two, sometimes it takes 5 years, but it always comes back to bite you. And it was just great that he was the one that got well, obviously it would have been better if Gabriel Jesus had scored it, but the second best option was for Mosquera to do that, and good enough for him.
Yeah, and it was it was again wild yet muted celebrations. So if there is such a thing, so I guess half the crowd were going wild and half were sort of muted. I couldn't describe my celebrations. I got up and I was like really happy. I was like, but I didn't make a noise. It was a very bizarre sort of celebration.
That's a huge sign of relief. That's just you stand up and you just I was the same. I was at home. And when the Wolves goal went in, I just thought, oh my God, we're not going to drop points at home to the bottom team. And I was so deflated that when our same thing, our goal went in, I put my hands in the air. I was just literally sitting there with my hands in the air. I didn't open my mouth because I didn't know what to make of it. And look, we got out of jail and we'll take it.
We did, yeah. Indeed, we'll take it, yeah. So there we go. I think there was a moment, 97th minute, we thought Jesus was going to do another Man United moment and score on the break, but didn't quite come off tame shot. And so Wolves' hat-trick of goals led to a 2-1 loss, which is bizarre. Own goals is now in our top 10 of goal scorers this season so far. And it's the first time we've ever won a game in the league having conceded a goal, we're not seeing one of our own players find the back of the net. So so there you go. So there you go. And yeah, it's a bit. I wrote down a question sort of here, and it would be interesting to get your view, just around the emotional reaction or just the emotion of this season, how we're playing. It feels like we're being crippled by our huge desire to win. We sort of know our moment is now, and sometimes people rise to that. Some people get, but I don't know. We've seen some. Are we getting too tense? Do we want it too much? It feels like every game is a huge game. Every moment is huge. The platoon style-esque fallout after Buendia scoring last week, where all the players are there, and it's not like one game out of 30, 38. There's a long way to go, and we don't seem to be playing with the freedom like we do in the Champions League. Look, the fans are tense. We want it as much and stuff like that, but we can't control everything. So, don't know. How do you have any feelings on that? On the emotional side of how we're playing, do you think it's restricting us? We sort of, I don't know. It just feels like we're not able to.
I think there is an element of truth to that. Like, we all know it takes incredible physical. It takes a lot of physical effort to win this league, but it takes a huge amount of emotional effort as well. And it's something that Pep has said recently, and I know he said it for exactly this moment. He said that we'll be there, towards the end of the season. We know what it takes to win this title. We've done it many times before, and that stuck with me. And I know it's mind games, but he's right. Their players have the backup of knowing number one how to do this, and number two knowing how to feel while you're doing this. Where our players have been so close a few times that it's going to be really tough for them mentally to do it. So it's a slight concern that I have that the players, could wilt amidst this run-in. Well, not that we're at the run-in stage yet, but Arteta has. I think if you could pick a manager to, apart from Pep himself, to guide players through that emotional roller coaster, it would be Mikel Arteta, because remember he was there. I know he hasn't won it with Arsenal, but he was part of a few Man City winning teams, league winning teams. So he knows what it takes. So yeah, do we want it too much? Maybe, but if we can get our handle on our emotions, I think we'll be a lot better off.
Help. Yeah, do we want it too much? It's a funny way of saying it, but no, we really want it, and he said, but maybe, and because we haven't done there, we've been so close. It's just there, it's in touching distance, and there's that should, there's no such thing as should in a way, but also we should in a way, so being contradictory. So yeah, it's a tough one to handle, and I think you need to be able to breathe a little bit and just be able to relax and take some of the punches and say, okay, fine, that's just one thing, we'll get up again. And it just, it's just interesting, because I just feel like the combination of the fans and the players, it just builds a certain tension, and we need that release sometimes, so we need to go and just spank someone away comfortably and just get those sort of good vibes back. So let's see. And then in terms of luck, as you said, look, every team has a bit of luck. We just hopefully not. We just don't want to be relying on luck to get us through. And there we go. And look, and then one final comment on that is that one thing's for sure: opposition fans last night must be hating us even more today, because we 2 own goals win us the game, a late equaliser that meant nothing, and a late winner for us. And if you can't take any joy from the game itself, our performance of that is that you take all the joy out of City fans, Tottenham fans, Chelsea fans, Man United fans, all these other fans, just like you, lucky bastards. And you know what? I don't care. And that's very funny.
I've mentioned it on the pod before that I have a penchant for looking at the Fan Reaction TV YouTube channel, and actually when you came on, when we were just before we started recording, you heard a noise, and you were like, what's that? I was like, I'm watching my fan TV here, and the rival fans were just devastated. Look, do you remember recently Leeds get it back to 2-2 at Man City? Or where maybe, I can't remember, was that Man City or if it was at Ellen Road. But
no, it was Man City, and then Foden scores late on.
I can remember how I felt when that goal went in. Foden scored. I was gutted. So look, they're going to have a bit of that now, and feck them.
Yeah, indeed, feck them. So, any particular players that did sort of stand out for you yesterday? Amongst the dross?
Amongst the dross, God, it's a good question, because even the stalwarts, the bankers were off it a little bit. Even Declan Rice was off it a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought Hincapié played well. He was at fault for the goal. He was number one keeping the guy on side. He dropped back. If he had stepped up with the other lads, he'd have been offside. But in general, he played really, really well. But it is really hard. I thought Trossard, even though he only came on, I thought he did well when he came on. Saka, obviously, it's an absolute sin, by the way, that Saka doesn't get 2 assists for those 2 goals.
I think FPL he does. I think he does. Maybe not in Fantasy League he got the assists. Whether
that's it, but
I don't know. Some places he do, some places he doesn't. But
I think the official Premier League people don't. When it's an OT, they don't give an assist for that. But Saka was really good, and thank Christ, he's back. And well, I know he's back a good while, but when he was out, he's another guy that if we lose him for any length of time, we're buggered. But he's our threat. And sometimes in the past we've been guilty of being very right side centre, if that makes sense, and that can be a worry. But yesterday he got us out of jail in a big way. So Saka and Hincapié were my 2 standouts.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I like Hincapié's front-footedness. His combative nature sort of makes up a bit for what we missed with Gabriel. I think he's only 23, and I think he'll be a great member of the team. And you're right, Saka. He seems to have the team on his shoulders. He seems to be He seems to be our only real threat at the moment. Even Villa, he was the main man. We seem to get a bit of balance recently, and now suddenly we're going back to being right hand side dominant. I mean, he was playing well with Ben White. And then Odegaard comes in. Again, the used to the old players. So, but yeah, we seem to have gone a bit right inside, and maybe and then we're falling back on the tactic of we're not really doing much. Give it to Saka, see what he can do, sort of thing. And then they've got like 2-3 men on him again. So it sort of feels very last season in that respect. But he did step up. He was like he actually won. He had 10 duels yesterday, and he won all 10. Which is like the most by any player across in the Premiership. I think over the last 10 seasons. So by an Arsenal player, he had most touches in the opposition box with 6, created most chances 4, completed most take-ons. So yeah, he really was carrying the team yesterday. So yeah, it's a strong performance from him. So. Look, we are top. Let's not forget that we're top by 5. Okay, City have to play Palace away, but we look at what happened yesterday, and there's no guarantees. And Palace beat them 1-0 last year, I believe. And yeah, so let's hope Mateta. I think there was 75% chance of Mateta playing, so hopefully he's in. I think Munoz not playing, but we never know. But yeah, so we're top. And that Villa have to go to West Ham, and it'll be very Emery to beat us in the way they did and get up for that, and then go away to West Ham and lose. So we'll see. And look, we're 8 points above Chelsea with 8 goal difference. So yeah, we're not in a bad spot. And then Liverpool, somehow we're only 10 points above them. It sounds a lot and sounds a little at the same time, given how their poor season. They're suddenly in 6th. So it's interesting at the top. So we're all Palace fans today.
Kicking off in 4 minutes.
Kicking off in 4 minutes. Wow. So yeah, there's some good games actually today. You got the Tyne-Wear derby at Sunderland. Forest laugh along against Tottenham, and. Okay, Brentford Leeds just filling out the 4:30 quota for certain clubs later on, and Palace Man City. So there we go. Anyway, on to your 3-word reviews, and thank you for everyone who posted on Blue Sky, X Threads, TikToks. We've also got some from the Grove WhatsApp group, and apologies in advance if I mangle your names, handles, and if I've missed any. So let's go. Let's start off with TikTok. So we have H, lucky. Yeah, I'd suggest so. Ryan, a good result. Yeah, 3 points is a good result. Fredo, 533, lucky Arsenal, thankfully. It was. Gianluca, my boy, sign of champions. Let's hope so. Dan Maguire, never give up. Gur, or Jur, you'll like this one. Yeah. Bum fingering karma. There you go. K Gibb, must do better. I think we can do better. Christu 65 got 3 points. We did. And Arsenal lad 2014 couldn't even celebrate. Yeah, I know how you're feeling. So on Blue Sky, Die Minkshaft, worst win ever. And it was. I think that goes down as one of the worst wins ever. James Brooke, he sent a meme from The Simpsons, which was the worst event ever.
You have to do the voice of Comic Guy.
That's the one. I didn't know who he was. I'm not the biggest Simpsons. Well, there we go. Worst event ever. Mr. C, the Gooner, almost blew it. We certainly did. Mason Bates, whelp, that's over. Yeah, thankfully. Sid Silk, finding a way. We did. Green Tony, I think this sums it up perfectly. Huffed and puffed. Stu, boring Arsenal. It wasn't the most interesting. I think I posted at half-time a sleep emoji. And TDB 1726, I don't know if that's a bot or not, but own goal gifts. Onto Threads. To start off with you, I think you got this one wrong, but you said thank fucking Christ. and before I knew it was an own goal, I said shouldn't that be thank fucking Jesus? But either one. Let's thank all the deities.
Yeah, all of them.
All of them. Sam 13 Jaws, real fucking painful. It was. Nicky Gooner 08, Jesus saves us. He was part of it, but yes. Chris Tyler 55, 3 points. Next. Yeah, I like that one. Take it. CB Wilson 25, just good enough. It was just about. 3 to the 4th. Wolves score thrice, correct, and still get on the losing side. I can't pronounce this one. Narkovitz, glad that's over. I think we all were. Groovy Cathers too. Jesus has risen. He did. And just in time for Christmas. Matt James Mullins, what was needed? I'm not sure I get that one, but I think maybe referencing the 3 points. T-Cat 3 Juice. I like this. It's all good. It's fine. Yeah.
Yep.
Fogging standards. We will improve. Longo _ Don, flat, boring, lucky. Say how it is. Nick AFC 14, our worst performance, correct. Duncan Horford, we were awful, correct. Deschamps Gill, oh my God, yeah, all of that. Strauss stuff, painful to watch, it was indeed. Grams by Stephen, only Wolves goals, yep. And Flood Colm, horrible 3 points. It was, but it's 3 points. And then Liam Watts, lucky fuckers. And that's on X. Thank you, Liam. Right, on to the Grove. WhatsApp. Alex Monroe. Fucking hell, lads. Normie, my aorta hurts. Not a particular part of his heart, so not his whole heart, just a particular part hurts. Tarry, we are shite. I think that's a bit extreme, yeah, but there you go. Everyone has their opinions. Sasha, Dubai is calling. I wonder if we can get there next week. Alex Monroe again, performance of champions. Darwit, very undeserved win. I don't know. I don't think Wolves actually did anything to deserve a win, but yeah, Whale. I think he's being sarcastic here because I know Whale. We are unstoppable. Matt Stacey, 3 chunky points. Shanice, very, very lucky. Moz, we need Jesus. Yes, we do. Kusova of this parish. I'll take it. Yeah, we got no choice. Andy Leach, wins are wins, and Alan, not good enough. Yeah, I guess we should do better, but a win's a win. So thank you for sending those in. And look, it pretty much, I think all of that sums up how we're all feeling as Arsenal fans across the board on that result and performance. And look, if you have any more, then please post them in the show comments on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or on our socials, or wherever you watch, listen, and follow. So thank you for that. And for a game that we didn't want to talk about, we've been going for 61 minutes. that's pretty good going. But hopefully
you've only
we've
gone 15 minutes out of speaking about the effect of the internet on modern society. So yeah, well.
There we go. But look, I think it's worth talking about. I think there's a lot of discussion points. But as we said, we got the win and we move on. And we move on next week to Everton, which is a week away. And we will do a quick preview of that. You know, even though it's a week away, and we might do another one later on towards the end of the week. So 8 o'clock next Saturday, we play them in their new Hill Dickinson Stadium. So it'll be a new interesting dynamic. Not sure we ever liked fully going to Goodison Park. I mean, we have had a mixed record there, and since 2020, lost 3 times, won twice, drew 1. But this will be different. And, you know, as Arteta said, what we have to do now is reset, give them 2 days that they can decompress a little. Yes, just relax, and then we have a long week that we can prepare. When we have time to prepare, I think we do pretty well. So look, when we don't train, there are things that slowly deteriorate, and certain habits start to deteriorate because you don't train them and use that opportunity to do so. Give it will everybody a boost, because we know that the Christmas period is often seen as a season defining, and we want to be on top of it indeed. So look, what are you looking forward to and not looking forward to as far as Everton away is concerned?
I'm looking forward to getting our first win in the Hill Dickinson Stadium. I was listening to another podcast, and apparently in media circles, you're not allowed to refer to it as the Hill Dickinson Stadium. It has to be Hill Dickinson Stadium, which is a bit wanky.
So what are you looking forward to when we take on Everton at the Hill Dickinson Stadium?
I'm looking forward to just getting our first win there. Hopefully a better performance as well. I haven't said that, but I've kind of have. I'm watching that game next week with one eye closed, because it's, as you said, it's not been a great. I know it's not the same stadium, but Everton away hasn't been a great fixture for us. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully putting that right. What am I not looking forward to? I say this far too often, but I'm not looking forward to the potential of getting any more injuries, because I'm just bloody sick of them. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
No, indeed. So I'm looking forward to someone whose initials are not OG scoring. So, and yeah, just a better performance. Again, maybe against a team that comes out a bit, that won't sit in a low block, that won't sit back. So more of an attacking threat, but also ones that gives us space. And I just don't want any more away day woes. We got to go there, get the 3 points. As Arteta said, come into Christmas period will set us up nicely. Yeah, and it'll be interesting. So how do you think? I mean, we got a week to go. Any thoughts on potential lineup, or are we just too far away to even think about that? Who's fit, who's available? See what happens, or
yeah, it's going to be
what sort of what would you be your key people that you'd want to see playing?
Well, inevitably we're going to lose about 4 players who got injured in training, so we'll have Marley Salmon starting at centre half. Hopefully, I'm wondering is there any hope of the likes of is it too early for Gabriella? If I had a magic wand, I would get Big G back, obviously. I'd love Kai Havertz to come back. Of course, I know he wouldn't start or anything like that, but I just loved that'd be just a big boost to have him back in the squad. So that's who I'd love to get back. But when you've got so many injuries, sometimes the team picks itself, and you'll probably more than likely, if nobody else comes back, you will have. Well, Calafiori will definitely be back because he was a big miss, I think, yesterday. Because he didn't play obviously because he was suspended. So I think we'll see Calafiori left back. We'll have Timber back at right back, and Hincapié and Saliba in defence. Zubi will be back. Rice will be back. Will play, and Saka will play. Then it's just kind of a toss up on the left hand side. I think Trossard will start, and I think he'll give Big Yok another go at it.
Yeah.
Am I missing one? Was that 10 or 11? Well, Raya obviously in goal. I can't remember.
Yeah. No, it'd be don't know.
It's hard to know.
But it's again, this is part of that question about what is our best 11. What's our? I think like nine out of the 11 you can sort of pick quite easily. Question marks over Odegaard, Eze, and left wing and centre forward potentially. But I think with the week off we go big and strong. I think Odegaard will play. I think again Eze is another one. He's a bit flattering to deceive a bit. Great performance against Tottenham, but moments. Yeah, I don't think the partnership with him and Gyökeres is quite right. I think Odegaard and Gyökeres is more suited. If someone could just tell Odegaard to pass to Gyökeres. Maybe Eze out left because he offers similar technical capabilities to Trossard, but Trossard is playing well. So, yeah, I would suggest it's Trossard, Gyökeres, Saka, Rice, Zubimendi, Odegaard, Calafiori, Hincapié, Saliba, Timber, Raya. That's what I would suggest is it. We go big. We need the win because then we got Palace midweek that we can change things up a bit.
Where do you sit? Just I know we'll talk about it closer to the game. Where do you sit on that game?
Don't care.
The Palace
I'm not worried, but again, if you win, you get through it. You want to go through it. You're at that sort of stage where if we got knocked out now, be annoying, but then we don't have 2 games in January against potentially City or against a top team. So it'd be nice to get through, but also then if we don't have those extra 2 games, those 2 games are only any good for the fringe players. If we can play the fringe players, we've got our full team back. If you're getting someone back up to fitness, like Jesus, like a Havertz, like a Gabriel, so there is some use to them, but it's 2 extra games.
Yeah,
I'm either way. I think at the time it will be frustrating, but also if it means we got our feet up and the other teams are running around, then it might do us the world of good. So let's see, but we'll worry about that in a week or so's time. So look, we're playing Everton, who are 8th, 1-7, drew 3, lost 6, scored 18, let in 19. So a pretty average. I don't know, is that average, even? Team. They're sort of. Whatever. I was looking at their fixture. I mean, their home form is played 8, won 4, drawn 2, lost 2, scored 11, let in 9. Okay, that's fine. But it's not like a fortress, the Hill Dickinson Stadium. I'm trying to look at, they've beaten Forest at home 3-0. They beat Fulham at home 2-0, but then they lost to Tottenham. what else have they done? I hope they beat Crystal Palace 2-1, but then they drew with West Ham 1-1. They drew with Aston Villa 0-0 at home. They beat Brighton Hove Albion 2-0 at home. So again, a bit hit and miss.
Any decent side that they've come up against, Tottenham aside, they have taken points off them.
Yeah, Newcastle beat them 4-1 at home. So, and they just recently lost 2-0 to Everton yesterday. And actually the biggest factor from that was that Dewsbury Hall, who is their top scorer, I think one of their top rated players and the second most assists, picked up, I think, a hamstring issue after 16 minutes, and I think he will be missing the game along with Seamus Coleman and Jared Brathwaite. So, but they've also then got Jack Grealish and Iliam Ndiaye, who's a bit of a decent player. We drew 1-1 with them last season, but again, that was sort of at the beginning of us just faltering and also some dodgy refereeing that didn't quite go our way. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. They could call us challenges. Again, we turn up, we win. What sort of Arsenal is going to turn up though? So what sort of Arsenal is going to turn up, and what's going to be the score?
We're going to return. I'm going to say that Arteta is going to put a bomb under them this week in training, and we'll have them playing with more intensity and playing more like ourselves, and we're going to beat Everton 2-0.
2-0. Okay. Yeah, I've gone for 2-1 just because of that defensive insecurities at the moment. It's away at Everton. They sort of get up for it and stuff like that. But I think, we should, again, we turn up, we should be too good for them. Win that game. These are the games we have to win if we want to win the league. At some point, you've got to start winning these games. So there we go. So let's see. So thank you, Ian, today. I think I feel a bit better. Again, we won. Why do I feel like we feel like we're talking about a loss? Yes, there are underlying issues that we were poor. We could have done better. We should have done better. There's stuff there, but we won. We're 3 points. We're top of the league. Yeah. Let's embrace that. Football is stupid. Stupid things happen. Good shit teams can beat good teams. It can happen, and that's what makes the Premiership the way it is. And we're not a farmers' league, and strange things can happen. But we got away with it. We forget about it. We move on, and we learn. It's only an issue if we're just doing the same thing week in, week out, and let's hope that's not the case. So anyway, no need to cheer me up. I'm fine. I'm happy. So, and I hope you are too. It's nearly Christmas. And there we go. We can watch some football stress free, knowing that we'll be top by 5 o'clock still. So anyway, Ian, aka Ask Cannon Picks, where can people find you and what do you do?
Everybody can find me on all the socials at Ars Cannon Picks, where you can send me your cannons from all over the world. Still going strong, heading towards 750, and but always on the lookout for more.
Okay, I'm looking forward to the one on Christmas Day. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Okay, look, you can follow us at The Grove AFC on Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X,
Pornhub.
God. Yeah, that's the Red and Raw podcast. That's the private one.
Podcast.
That's Moz's Red and Raw podcast that he's got on OnlyFans. But there we go. And look, the next show will be. We might do one towards the end of the week. Bit of a discussion, bit pre-Everton. Might not, depending on how we're doing, how availability. If not, then we will be doing another hot off the pitch pod post Everton. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be live streaming about 10-15 minutes after the final whistle. So that's our sort of new instant sort of reaction, immediate response. Hot off the pitch live stream podcast. Around 10 o'clock, 5:10 on next Saturday. We'll release that as a pod as well. And look, as I said, if you enjoy hearing from us, please leave a comment. Please give us a rating. Really do it on the podcast apps. Say hello on the YouTube, on wherever, comments on the socials. Love to hear from you. Love to know what you're up to. I'm saying love to know what you're up to. Love to know what your thoughts on Arsenal and I'll just stop jabbering on because I'm getting delirious now. Thank you for listening, and until the next time, come on you Gunners.